Hello, and welcome to our first of three segments in our Meet the MS-MIS Faculty Director series, a series of conversations designed to provide an in-depth look at what makes the University at Buffalo's MS-MIS program and its people so special. My name is Aaron Shaw. I'm the Assistant Director of Recruitment for our full-time MBA and MS programs, and I have the pleasure of being joined by one of those special people today, the MS-MIS Program Faculty Director, Dr. Pavan Mulgund. Pavan, welcome and thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Aaron, and I'm very pleased to be here today.
So let's get right into it, shall we? I've got some comprehensive and some fun questions that I'd like to ask. But before I do you mind providing us with some details surrounding your background?
Sure. My name is Pavan Kumar, and I've been with UB for about 7-8 years now in different capacities. I started off as an MS and MIS student in 2013. I went back and worked with a consulting firm for a couple of years there, and I was an alum in that sense, and then came back to pursue my PhD from 2015, and I graduated with my doctoral degree in 2020. But I've also been fortunate enough to have had the opportunity to work as clinical assistant professor starting 2015. So I've been with the program for about 6+ years in the teaching capacity. And over the years, I have had very intimate understanding of some of the aspirations students bring to the table and some of the challenges they face along the way. And that was what triggered me into taking up the directorship. And in addition to my academic experience, I've also worked in the industry for the likes of IBM and ActionNet Consulting and Center of Medicare and Medicaid Services for a good 9+ years.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you so much. Okay, so let's get right into the questions. Obviously, you're in the world of academia. So when did you decide that an academic career path was right for you?
Well, the question lingered in my mind for many years, actually. All through my industry experience, one of the shortcomings there was that you don't get to work on the problems of your choice. You work on problems that someone hands it down to you, and as technology expert, you solve their problems. But academia affords you the luxury of working on problems that matter to you. So for instance, in my research, if you look at it, my work has been about building digital applications for stigmatized disorders, for helping people with issues such as postpartum depression or sexually transmitted diseases. These are not very financially rewarding enterprises. And so most private organizations won't work there. So that was one of the motivations. Now, second, and perhaps the most important one, is I come from a family of teachers. Both my parents are teachers. And in my home, scholarship and scholastic achievement is looked up to and valued quite highly. And it was only natural that I would end up in higher education, I guess.
Yeah, excellent. Excellent. Makes a lot of sense. Now, you mentioned it earlier during your introduction, and as I mentioned, you're the program faculty director for the MS-MIS program. And seeing as how you were already a research faculty member here at the University at Buffalo, what was it that prompted you to take on the rigorous role of becoming the program faculty director on top of it?
Well, as I said, it's a challenging role because, believe it or not, I'm stepping in and I have some big shoes to fill. But we started off in 2002 as a program of 2 students, and in the last 18 years or so, we've managed to grow to a program of 120. And now, in some sense, if you look at it, we are doing MS, MIS, and MSBA. In some sense, it's the 2.0 version of it. So there was a lot of need for interaction with industry leaders to shape up the curriculum in directions that will help our students for their future. So, and I was excited to be part of this because we wanted to introduce new technologies to the table. We wanted to bring in AI and cloud computing and information risk related issues. So those are some of the topics that I'm very excited about. And I think one of the reasons I took it is because it keeps me grounded with the realities of the industrial challenges. And it also, in a way, helps my research and keep it more contemporary, if I may.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you. So you mentioned students, and we all know students, those out there that have that special spark, that special it, right? And that makes them extra successful in their careers.
Mhm.
Thinking back on your students, what qualities or characteristics did they bring to the experience that you admire the most?
That's an excellent question. In fact, this is something that I guess all our prospective students must hear at some point. They are not usually the brightest. Okay, but what's important is that they're consistent.
Mm.
And they have a very high emotional quotient, if I may, because they don't take their successes and failures too seriously. So they don't lose sight of their goals if they, let's say, do not crack an interview, or they don't get too excited and lose track of their goals if they happen to win an early scholarship or get a 4.0 in the first semester. So they are consistent, they plan their work and put down their heads and continue to work that plan.
Hmm.
And I think that's probably what I would expect from our upcoming students as well, that don't be too worked up if things don't work for you in the beginning. And there will be times where, on occasions, it will become difficult and stressful because you have too many assignments and too many things flowing your way. But just be reminded that as long as you consistently perform and work your plan all along the way, at the end, the outcomes are exceptionally rewarding.
Yeah, very admirable characteristics. Failure is okay, and consistency is key, if I'm summing it up correctly there. Okay, moving on. What sort of connection can a student expect in and out of the building with either yourself or other MIS faculty?
Well, we would like to take pride in the fact that I guess we, as faculty members, are very intimately involved with students' academic success. And in fact, we do provide very personalized attention with support from CRC. Most faculty members interact with students. Until COVID, it was almost one-on-one, but now it might be in group of 2 or 3, but you will still get a chance to hear and form opinions about interesting topics. We have a lot of options for independent studies. We have faculty members who will bring speakers from industry. In fact, one of the differentiating aspects of our program is how closely we work with the local community here in Buffalo, Niagara region. Believe it or not, almost every executive or every C-suite executive in the local top companies will at some point come in and speak in our programs. And that's, I think, one of the key aspects that differentiate us, because you get to hear perspectives from the leaders. And in addition to telling you their challenges, they also tell you what's it that they're looking for in their new employees or prospective employees. And that, I think, is a valuable takeaway for our students. But in terms of faculty time, I think they are all very research driven. Believe it or not, some of us publish in top tier journal outlets which have acceptance rates of like 2%. So the point is that you will get to work not just with people who are experts in the field, but they are also creating cutting edge knowledge in their areas.
Yeah, very good. Very good. So my last question for this particular segment, I think you'll agree that, if you're passionate about something and you put your heart and soul into something, a small piece of every human being would like to be remembered for the efforts that they put forth into that, whatever that thing is, in this case, being the faculty program director. So what is the legacy that you hope to leave behind as the faculty director for the MIS program?
When I walked into this program, it was already a very successful program. So I would like to, in addition to continuing the success of the program, I would like to be known probably for making it more industry relevant and for building relationships with community that, well, one, augment the student learning, but second, provide local industry leaders opportunity to work with our students, get to know them, and potentially hire them in their organizations. Because one of the things that I'm very grateful for is what Buffalo and Niagara region have done for me. And if anything, I would like to see Buffalo prosper as the next technology hub.
Very admirable. Thank you for sharing. Okay, now for the fun stuff.
Okay.
First up, what's your favorite place in the world and why?
Well, actually, it's been so many years that I've gone back to my home. So right now it feels like my home is the best place to go, which is in Karnataka, India.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay. Out of everything that you've experienced in life, all the things that you have, maybe physically, emotionally, mentally, what matters most to you and why?
Well, at the end of the day, it's the time you spent with your family and opportunity to shape the thought process of your children and contribute to success of your friends. I think that is really what comes close to my heart. I'm quite ambitious, I guess, on the professional side, but I think what drives me the most is, at the end of the day, how much pride my daughter and wife take in my success and what they think of me. That matters the most, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. Thank you. Okay. So for the audience, if you haven't figured it out, being a faculty program director entails a lot of commitment and a lot of time and effort. So when you get an opportunity, what do you do to relax and recharge?
Well, I'm a big audiobooks fan, quite frankly. In fact, I think at this point, my library runs into a few thousands. On one end, I read some very serious product strategy kind of books. On the other end, I'm glued to the likes of Stephen King and John Grisham. So I think my fun time would be listening to John Grisham, perhaps the most.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. A time to escape. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that segues perfect into the next question. What books are you reading or listening to right now?
Okay. Interesting question. There's one of the fascinating books of recent times is something called A Cold Start from Andrew Chen, who happens to be a big time investor and venture capitalist. So he writes a book about what's it to suffer from what's called a cold start. And this is actually one of the ways in which I start my systems analysis and design class. And we talk about, there is so much emphasis on building software, on learning tools and techniques. But the fundamental premise is that unless you have a problem that's worth solving, everything else is just due diligence from that point on. So in other words, what's important even today, despite of all the tech and advancements that have happened, is finding that right problem that creates a spark among your consumers. How do you go about doing that? And that's that book about.
Yeah, very interesting. Consider it added to my my list of must reads. Yeah, I can't wait. Sounds awesome. Last question for the fun section, if you will. What is the best advice that you've ever received?
Okay, this is actually an interesting one. And very recently, a very senior academic in a conference told me that at the end of the day, it is the relationships that matter, not because there will be successes and failures along the way, especially in academia where your acceptance rates of your journal articles is less than 10% in most journals. You're more likely to fail than succeed. So I think it is how gracefully you handle difficult times that determines the success. And I think that's a great advice for any and everyone.
I agree. Incredible advice. Thank you very much for sharing.
Thank you.
Okay, that's going to do it for us during this particular segment. Pavan, thank you so much for allowing us a peek behind the curtain, if you will, and providing us with some great insight into who you are and what makes you tick. To our audience, we're glad that you're considering the UB MS MIS program. You may have noticed during my introductory slide or here on the screen with me is a QR code. You can use your cell phone's camera to access the links associated with that QR code on your screen. to do anything from scheduling a one-on-one admissions advising appointment to browsing our social media and so much more. Be on the lookout for the next segment where we'll take a closer look at the MIS program as a whole. But for now, take care and goodbye.
Thanks, Aaron.